We're going to be talking a little bit about jazz today. Jazz is sort of this nebulous, inaccurate term to describe a lot of things. It's like saying food. You know what I mean? There's so many different kinds of food and so many different things. But everyone knows food excites them, and it's something that everyone's interested in. So I think everyone at the same time is interested in jazz. So the most important place to start is New Orleans before the 1900s with the presence of slavery. We had spirituals, which were these African Americans that were expressing their woes and their sorrows through song, and in a group setting usually. And you would have a soloist that would sing and just get out the emotions and the feelings that they needed to. And this sort of led to the blues, which was a 12-bar form that you could improvise over, and it had these themes of call and response, of improvisation, like we said, of structure and form, and most importantly, expression. And then in the 1900s, in New Orleans is important. That's sort of the heart and the epicenter of jazz. The presence of ragtime with artists like Ben Harney and the blues. And the 1920s, we get swing, Dixieland, with Glenn Miller, most notably, and that swing style, the big band style of jazz, sort of exploded and spread throughout America and eventually the world. And then in the 1940s, we get bebop, which is this virtuosic style of soloing. Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker started just playing these absolutely incredible solos that were, like I said, virtuosic. In the 1970s, skipping ahead a little bit, we get fusion, which sort of combines all of these ideas, most notably improvisation and expression, into a single genre of fusion. So an artist like Chick Corea really advanced this, and that sort of led to music as we know it today, with pop, rock, all those sort of things heavily influenced music of the 21st century. So in the classroom today, I think jazz can be broken down by about five, again, this is only my opinion, but five different subgenres, those being bebop, Latin, Dixieland, cool jazz, and swing. In the words of Dr. Lou Fisher, jazz is a legato language, so unless otherwise noted, you can usually assume jazz is legato. Another overarching theme, and again, this isn't for everything, but when it is swing. And swing is it's more felt than it is done, is the best way I can describe it, but it's an emphasis on 2 and 4 instead of where most music is 1 and 3, so 1, ba, da, ba, da, ba, da, ba, and a triplet feel, so it's a little more cyclical and less square. So the easiest way to describe it is the eighth notes. The first eighth note is the first two subdivisions of a triplet. The second eighth note falls on the third subdivision of the triplet. And that's a little bit square. It's not actually that, but it's the easiest way to describe it. So D to 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 D. Some other common things you'll see throughout jazz are things like scoops, falls, closed articulations. In classical repertoire, you really would never want to end a note by cutting the air off. You can do that in jazz. So it's a little bit, to state it simply, it's a little bit more free. You can do a lot more in jazz. It's a little less restricting, as the main idea is expression. And with expression, we get improvisation. Improvisation can be divided into scalar, into chordal, into melodic variations, into development, and motivic structure. And so, you can use things like the church modes, the blues scale. There's hundreds of different scales you could use, pentatonic scales. You can use the chord structure. If we were playing the blues, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, all those notes would sound good. Varying the melody, if you're playing anything anything in the blues. You can just take the melody and kind of play around with it, jump between different notes, start at the end, play backwards, start in the middle. That's a way to go about improvisation. But most importantly, it's about expressing yourself. And usually this can be done through development of like telling a story, where you start the story, there's usually some sort of climax in the middle, and then a falling action, just like any good book you've read. We've all done the mountain chart, where there's a rising action, the climax, and then a falling action. So I think a great solo would incorporate all of those ideas. Now, in a school jazz program, I think it would be most successful. For this example, let's say we only have one group. I think it would be most successful as a big band, as it incorporates the most instruments and is the most accessible style, easiest to grasp for students. And this ensemble would meet every day. It'd be a volunteer select group, because you need to have that appreciation for and that skill to conquer all of these techniques. It would have an emphasis on performance. You know, a big part of jazz is about expressing yourself, but performing, and you know, this could mean for your peers, for small groups of people. But you know, jazz is about getting your feelings out to the world, and so that's why I think it's important to frequently perform. Think that's often ignored is group synergy, especially the smaller the group. You know, if they can't work together, they're going to have a hard time respecting each other. You know, it's like a group discussion, improvising and playing with people. If you can't respect someone else's opinion and listen to someone else's opinion, the conversation is going to be kind of one-sided. And I think jazz is the same way, where you have to be able to listen and respect one another in order to have the most successful time. And then I think it would be good to end with one big performance a year. When I was in high school, our big band did a 2-hour concert at the end of the year. It was a jazz dinner where we played all sorts of different styles. You know, everyone would improvise. We would present all sorts of music, about 2 hours of music. And it was just sort of an experience that would sort of inform you of what real professional musicians would go through, what it's like to play a long set, what it's like to, you know, improvise in front of an audience of people, and all those sort of things. So to recap, we've got the history of jazz, starting with spirituals and eventually the blues, going to swing, bebop, fusion, then music as we know it today. Improvisation, you can break that down into scales, chords, varying in melody, motivic development, and melodic development being the most important aspects of improvising. And then a school jazz program, you know, they need to meet every day. It should be, in my opinion, a volunteer select ensemble. Strong emphasis on performance. Don't ignore the group synergy. And I, in my opinion, end with one large concert a year. I hope I've given you a little bit more of an insight on jazz and what it is. And hope to see you out there listening to some music.